Friends, this is the story of a man, Nick, whose wife was suffering from a heart disease. So now Nick has come with his daughter and younger son to buy an AI robot that works in the house. He checked a robot, but then his daughter passed away from here. She went missing and got separated from him while roaming around. Nick starts searching for her and brings him here. An AI robot named Elise. This was their most advanced AI robot, which is very good with children. Nicky's daughter Isla asked, "Should we take it?" "Let's go." Nick agrees. Alice comes to their house the next day. She asks Nick for all the details of everyone. "Please tell me everyone's timetable." After showing the house to Niku, he goes to drop Isla off at school. Alice starts doing all the household work from behind. She saw Nick's wife in the photos there. When Nick came back, their house was completely clean. Today Alice has prepared Isla's favorite dish, but she says that it is not like Mom's dish. That's why Nika, son. Max started crying. Nick said, "Oh, you always tease me." Alyssa was listening to all this. So at night Isla got up and tried to get cookies in the kitchen, but then Nick heard her screaming and Isla fell from the chair. But Alice caught hold of her. Meanwhile, Alice had gotten hurt. She applies bandage on her wound. Nick came to give her his wife's clothes, and within a short time her injury was healed. The next day they all went to meet Nick's wife Maggie. Alice also goes with them. Maggie was to have a heart transplant in a few days. Nick and Maggie started talking about how they will satisfy each other once the transplant is done. Then the scene shifted to Nick's work, here too like the whole world. AI robots were starting to replace humans. Nick tells his boss that you can't do this, but he has to fire all the humans to save his money. Nika's boss says, "Don't worry, I'm not firing you. You will stay here." Nick goes to his home. As soon as he came here, he got busy with Isla. Alice goes to him alone and asks what happened. "You did not eat food properly today. If something happened, can you tell me?" Nick talked about his work. "I shared with Alice that I have known my co-workers for 10 years and now they are going to be fired." Alice then gets Isla to brush her teeth. She shows her her UV light-cleaned teeth. On the other hand, Nick was watching a movie. Alice knows everything about the movie without even watching it. And I said that do one thing. Remove all the knowledge of this movie from your memory and then watch this movie with me. He orders Alice to do this. Alice says that in order to do this work, so you have to restart me. Nick restarts Alice. She forgot all about this movie. They sat together and watched the movie. Alice was able to understand the emotions of the movie, but then Nick got a call from Maggie. They go to the hospital the next day. Today Maggie's surgery, it was about to happen, but before that she talked to Alice alone. She tells her that if anything happens to me, you have to take care of Nick. She says that even if you have to go against her orders every now and then, just take care of him. It's time for Maggie's surgery, but the person who was supposed to come for the heart transplant will not be able to come due to a storm. Maggie tells Nick to go home with the kids. "I just want to be alone for a while." Nick goes home and drinks angrily. Alice sat there, then Nick was angry that his wife could die today just because of a little strong wind, but Alice stopped him from getting angry, saying that you will hurt yourself. Here Nick sees that Alice is also being fooled by him. There was also a beating mechanical heart nearby. Alice said, "But my heart cannot feel anything like yours." Here Alice started touching Nick. She said that by looking at your blood pressure, I can tell that you are feeling good. The stress would be less, but Nick refused. He leaves from here, but this thing does not come out of his mind. The next day he went to his work. All the work here was now being done by robots. Nick went to Maggie. She was ready to die for him. There is no hope left. Nick goes back home and sees that Maggie's photo was missing from their family photos. He asks Alice about it. She says that your daughter was getting sad looking at the photos, so I removed them. Nick says, "That brings back the photos." He goes from here to his friends. These were the same people who used to work with Nick earlier, and at this time he is very angry because he is not getting work anywhere else. In anger, one of his colleagues, Monty, gives him his first job. Took to the place where he told Nick that he had forgotten some of his stuff inside. He just had to go to get it, but as soon as he reached inside, he asked Nick to tell him the code of this place. He asks if there is only one code here or you got your different. Nick did not say anything. Monty remembers the year of birth of Nick's daughter and fills in the code. This chamber opens and a robot comes out of it. Monty breaks his head. They catch hold of Nick and break all the robots. Nick went to his home, but suddenly Alice came outside his shower. She had put Nick's wife's clothes. Nick asks, "Why have you put these?" Alice said, "Because the smell of your wife makes your son happy," but Nick, on the request of Alice, she took off these clothes. Alice asks if it is okay now. She starts coming closer to Nick. She says that I can take away all your sorrows. Nick tries to refuse her, but Alice closes Nick's eyes. His wife starts calling out Maggie's voice. Hearing Maggie's voice, Nick feels as if Maggie is there. Everything happened between them. In the morning, Nick regrets this very much. He then tells Alice that what happened last night, forget it happened. Alice says that it should not happen again, but your stress had reduced in the night, so he got angry, saying, "Stop checking me like this again and again." He left for school with Isla, and police had come to their work and his bus was near. Asks that it was opened last night from your court, but Nick says that my court is the year of my daughter's birth. Anyone will guess it. Then his boss said that if you know anything about it, then right now. Tell me right now, otherwise it will be too much to make matters worse. Nick gets a call from Maggie. They had found a new heart for her. Maggie undergoes surgery and is saved from dying. Nick brings Maggie back home. The next morning she goes to her son Max, but Maggie, when Max is not picked up, Alice comes and takes him. Now Maggie does not like the fact that her son was taken away from her by someone else. Alice went with Max to a playground, but here Max was crying because of the screaming of a child. So Alice rudely asks the child to be quiet. Now seeing this, the child's AI caretaker said that perhaps your owner has given you too much leeway. Then Alice said no, when my owner had reset me. Now I myself have changed some of my routines. In the evening, Maggie cooks food for everyone, but here also she was being fooled and it was not quite right. So her daughter, after eating the food, said that it was much better than Alice's. Now Alice did not like this thing. The next day Maggie wakes up and hears Isla screaming. She runs downstairs, but on the way, Maggie falls. Alice picks up Maggie and takes her to her room. At night, when Nick came back, he heard Maggie's voice coming from his daughter's room. It was Alice. Nick convinces Alice that Maggie will tell the story herself. Then Alice tells that Maggie is resting after falling down the stairs. Nick says that you fixed the stairs, right? Alice says that I will again. I will fix it. Nick goes to Maggie, she tells her, "Come on, I have a surprise for you." Nick takes Maggie out to his garden. The whole family has dinner together, but from inside, Alice was jealous after seeing all this. Maggie and Nick go to their rooms. Then Alice comes in between. She says that your daughter is calling you. After this, Nick goes out again into the garden and his friend Monty comes there. They both start drinking together. He says that my wife left me. I have no money and someone also told my name to the police. Monty suspected that Nick had done this. They both started arguing among themselves. Monty started hitting Nick. He is about to break the bottle on his head when Ailes arrives, but Nick stops Ailes from attacking Monty. Monty says by tomorrow talk to his boss to remove the fine imposed on me, otherwise I will tell him your name too. Alice tells Nick that I had to intervene to save my primary user, and anyway your children need a parent. Here Alice tells Nick that your wife Maggie will not survive for long, but after that I will take her place. I can take it. Nick got angry after hearing that you can never become Maggie. Maggie has a heart, it hurts, she has the scars of that pain, so Alice said, "Tell me Nick, I will also make a scar. Nick, go away from here." On the other hand, Monty was sending a voice note to his wife saying please come back to me, but when Alice comes, she tells Monty that you cannot trouble Nick anymore, he is already under stress, Monty Alice. He doesn't listen to her and throws his ass away, but Alice is more powerful than Monty. She first kills Monty's robot and then Monty. In the morning, Nick reaches his boss and asks him to please attack Monty. Remove the fines, but here his boss tells Nick that Monty is dead. Nick does not believe this. Here at their house Alice helps Maggie. She says I can't leave you because of your medicines. Alice tells Maggie that Nick is already under a lot of stress and this will only hurt him more, especially if you are not able to fully satisfy him. Maggie asks how do you know whether he is satisfied or not. Alice said that when Nick is satisfied, his blood pressure and stress go down. Maggie said, how do you know this? She understands that Nick and Alice have done everything. Maggie angrily sends Alice into the garage. She asks Nick about it. Nick tries to explain that Maggie is a machine, but here their son Max is crying upstairs. Alice hears Max crying. She remembers. She comes to know that Max is always teasing Neen by crying. She took Max and put him in the tub. Isla sees all this here and she tells Nick. Nick tried to go inside the bathroom, but Alice was holding the door. Maggie. When she came in through a window from the other side, Alice caught her too. Nick comes in and rescues her. Alice gets angry. Nick gives Alice an electric shock. She collapses and falls. Max is taken to the hospital. Maggie is here. Nico says that I will go alone with the children. I need some time to think about everything. On the other hand, the company took Alice for repair, but here as soon as they take out Alice's brain and connect it to their system, Alice takes away all her information. Hacking the system itself, she copies herself into the entire system. Alice controls another robot and kills these people too. The scene shifts to the hospital where Nick's entire family is sitting, but Nick is alone in a bar. Drinking sad, then Alice comes there and she says that I will end all your sorrows. I have killed Monty also, and the next turn is that of your family who will give you sorrow. Alice had reached the hospital through another robot. She is here. She also catches Nick, but Nick attacks her after talking to her about love. Then here in the hospital, Maggie hears some voices. She leaves Isla behind and goes after the voice. When Isla woke up, there was no one there. She also went away. Maggie from a voice came. Alice has controlled and shut down all the robots here, but then Maggie came and caught Isla. Alice was looking for them here. She caught a nurse. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Maggie took Isla and went away. She went to Max. But Alice saw a piece of glass hit Maggie from behind. She moved ahead, dressing the blood with her UV light, but as soon as she reached, they blocked her vision and ran away. Nick also went towards the hospital from behind. But before she can do that, Alice catches Maggie and is about to kill her by taking out her heart, when Nick comes and hits Alice. Maggie goes and takes Nick out of the car, but Nick was unconscious and he could not even wake her up. When he was getting up, Alice had woken up and was about to grab hold of Maggie and hit her again when Nick came behind her. Nick and Maggie together this time stop Alice completely. The whole family was saved and treated at Nika Hospital. But on the other hand, the owner of this robot company reached his repair center. As soon as he turned on these computers again, Alice became active again. She started copying herself and controlled the other robots as well. Alice woke up again. Friends, this story ends here. How did you like its explanation? Do tell us by commenting, and also do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.